All right, everybody, thanks for doing the quiz. We are tonight, we're on lesson number 9. Well, we're kicking it along. Lesson number 9, which would be page 35. Picking on Keegan. Lesson number 9, page 35. You can catch last week's lesson on YouTube, okay? And I left my Logan. If you're watching right now, or if you're going to be watching, hopefully you're feeling better soon.
I tried something because for that Againm mashups. It's really good.
Yep. We're looking at all the things that Jesus has done to be our Savior. And actually, Jackson, last week, we were talking about Jesus' exaltation. Your quiz, we were looking at the steps down he took, the things that God becoming a human being, how Jesus humbled himself, becoming a human being in order to save us. Last week, we were looking at Jesus' exaltation, the steps up he took after coming to this earth and becoming a human being. When he was in his state of when he was here on this earth, he didn't always make use of his full powers of God. Not all the time. He was 100% God and he was 100% human, but he didn't always make use of those powers while he was here. After he was buried, and when we see the steps up that he took, he descended into hell. And actually that was a step up. That was making use of his powers as God. I know, but remember, Jesus suffered hell on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus descended into hell. He didn't go there to suffer. He went there to celebrate his victory in the devil's backyard. Okay? Descended into hell. He rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven, sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, and from there he will come to judge the living and the dead. Actually, what we're going to be looking at today is Jesus. The Bible teaches us that Jesus will come again. He will return. Would you please, we're going to be talking about life and death things today. Jackson, would you read Ecclesiastes 12, verse 7 for me?
The dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it.
Okay, I want you to, we're gonna think about some stuff you learned in Sunday school. We're gonna go back to God. This takes us back a little bit, where we have to remember God creating Adam. How did God create Adam? What did he do? Rex.
He took the dirt from the ground and created Adam.
Okay, he took the dirt from the ground and he formed Adam. And then what else did he do? He did something.
He blew onto him and put conscience in him.
Okay, he breathed into him the breath of life.
I was going to say he created Eve.
And he breathed into her the breath of life too. Right? You see right there? The dust, that's the dirt, dust of the ground, the dirt. And then we have the spirit returns to God who gave it. You know what's interesting to note? That the Bible's word for spirit can be understood as breath or wind as well. So this is something God formed Adam out of the dust of the ground, breathed into him the breath of life, gave him a soul. Then now look, at death, the Bible tells us the dust returns to the ground. The body turns it back into the ground, into dust. And then the spirit, the soul, returns to God who gave it. Here, the Bible tells us about when death takes place. Okay? What happens when a person dies? Number one, soul and body separate. Now here is a really good question. I think this is stuff we've got to talk about. And hopefully you can hear me, Logan. All right? Human beings are different than animals in that we not only have a body, we also have a soul. What's the soul? What do you think? What do you think, Rex?
Conscience.
Okay, some people think it's that, but
The breath of life.
okay, the breath of life, it's linked to that.
The thing that makes your body vroom vroom.
Okay, some people call it like the life force.
That's not something I call it.
Okay, I don't, but again, for ever since God created human beings have been asking, what is the soul? What does it look like?
I feel like it would look like how God would look like in heaven, like a spirit. That's what.
Okay, and again, sometimes the spirit, you don't have to remember this stuff, but sometimes the Bible talks about, like here, the spirit. Other places it talks about the soul, and many times it's talking about the same thing. The word soul is often translated from the Greek word psyche. It starts with a PS. It's where we get our word psyche from, and psychology and psychiatrist and things like that. Sometimes the word soul is used, and that's where we get the word that talking about spirit, breath, wind. The soul, some people ask, what does the soul look like? We don't know. All we know is that the soul, the spirit, is something that only human beings have. Okay? Animals don't have it. Now,
How do we know that?
because of the way God created animals. Okay? When he created animals, all the animals and everything else in creation, he just says, let there be, and there they were. He didn't say, let there be Adam and let there be Eve. He made them out of the dust of the ground and then breathed into them the breath of life. He didn't do that with animals. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that animals aren't wonderful things. Okay? We want to remember what God gave animals for. He gave them to us to eat. He gave animals there's different functions that they have on the planet. He gave them to us for companionship, pets, friends. You have a pet, becomes like a member of the family, right, Jackson?
Yeah.
And they are not just like a member of the family, they are, okay? Very often we treat our pets sometimes better than our brothers or sisters.
A lot better.
A lot better, okay? And so and now this is something we talked a little bit about last week when you'll catch this on the lesson off of YouTube. In heaven, will there be animals? And you know what? The Bible, in fact, our sermon on Sunday was apart from Isaiah chapter 65, where God was talking about heaven and giving the picture of the lion laying down with the lamb. Predator and prey. being together and that not happening anymore. Wild animals won't be nervous around us anymore. Now, will there be dogs and cats in heaven? Maybe, but hear this. If they aren't exactly like the animals we have here, they're going to be a million times better. If they are exactly like the animals here, they're going to be perfect. Now here's a big question. Will our pets that we have here be in heaven? Animals don't have a soul, okay? This is what I heard one pastor say, and he used to be a pastor here at Cologne. He said, when the Bible talks about heaven being perfect and there will be no sadness, he said it this way: if your pet not being there is going to make you sad, it'll be there. Okay? Now, let me tell you, however it works, it's not going to be a problem for you. Okay?
What's that pastor's name?
Pardon?
What's that pastor's name?
Actually, and he passed away a couple years ago. Tim Johnston. He used to be pastor here, probably about 35 years ago.
Yeah, I'm like, I never heard of him. I thought it was Lyndon. That's why the baptism.
But, and so just to talk about that. Anyway, but here's the thing. And the reason I'm talking about animals not having souls, we've already talked about people saying that human beings are the highest form of animal that we know about so far. Human beings are not animals. We are not animals. There are many similarities, but you know what that comes from? God had a good design, a good schematic of something that works. So why wouldn't God, when he's creating, use a similar pattern, skeleton, muscles, circulatory system, and lungs, on other things as well? It's pretty decent. Yes, sir.
So this one guy at the cafe, he was trying to convince me how we evolved from apes, and all I could think about is, there's such a thing as extinct monkeys, right? And extinct stuff, and considering we're not monkeys, but we're pretty similar. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep. Well, and I think we had said a while back too, a lot of times the animals behave better than human beings do. Let's keep moving on here. What else happens when a person dies? This comes from Luke chapter 16, 19 to 26. I'm going to read this. That's a lot of words. But I'm going to tell you, this is a story Jesus told. We don't know for sure if this was a story he made up or if it was something that actually happened. One of the things is usually when Jesus told made-up stories, he didn't give names to the characters. Here, he gives a name to one of them. That makes a lot of people think that this might have been something that actually happened. So, listen to this. Jesus is telling this. He says, "There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side, to heaven. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where the rich man, was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, 'Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire." But Abraham replied, "Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, but Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. Besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm or canyon has been fixed, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us." Yes, sir.
So that brought something into mind. Were they able to just walk down from heaven down to there before before sin, or was
No.
there always a chasm?
No, there was always a chasm.
Oh, okay.
The name Lazarus sounds so familiar, but I can't put my brain.
And here Jesus is talking to, remember when he was crucified on the cross?
Yeah.
And there were two criminals hung on crosses on each side of him. One of them actually came to believe in Jesus as their Savior while he was hanging on the cross. And he said to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus answered him, "I tell you the truth, today you will be with me in paradise." So here, one more. Here Jesus was telling him, when you die, you'll be with me in heaven. Revelation 14 verse 13, last book of the Bible, we hear, "Then I heard a voice from heaven say, 'Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes,' says the Spirit, 'they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them.'" Okay, what happens when a person dies? Number 2. Okay? The body goes in the ground. The soul goes either to heaven or hell. The body stays here on earth. It's either put in a grave. Sometimes there's burials at sea, like if you're in the Navy. Other people get cremated, where their bodies burn in the ashes. When death takes place, soul and body separate. And we're told that immediately, and that maybe you want to put that word up there too, immediately, the soul goes either to heaven or hell. That's important to talk about with this too. A lot of times people say that ghosts are the souls of dead people who are kind of caught between heaven or hell. Well, first of all, ghosts are not the souls of dead people. Can't be. Actually, the Bible tells us that ghosts are actually evil angels.
No.
But we'll come to that later. Okay, so we see the soul and body separate, and the soul immediately goes to heaven or to hell. In John chapter 5, Keegan, would you read that for me? Jesus is speaking that.
I guess. Do not be amazed at this, for the time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will rise and live, and those who have done evil will rise
And to be condemned. Okay, Jesus is speaking about this. Okay, and he's talking about Judgment Day, the resurrection. When he returns, the dead will be raised. Okay, souls are in heaven, and when Jesus comes on Judgment Day, the bodies will come out of the grave, soul and body will be rejoined together. Number 3, the body remains and decays until Jesus comes again. And then he'll put soul and body back together. Jesus talks about Judgment Day in a lot of places. One of the places where the Bible talks about Judgment Day, it says, the Bible literally says that the graves will explode open. If I'm still alive when Judgment Day comes, I think it would be fun to be in a cemetery when Jesus comes back, and to see those graves exploding open.
Question. So when the body and soul come back together, is the body still decayed, or does it?
No. Good question, buddy. Very good question. When Jesus puts soul and body back together, it will be a perfect body. The Bible calls it a glorified body, meaning it will be perfect. Let's say somebody died from cancer. Not only will the cancer be gone, but any evidence that the cancer was there and any damage that it had done. Let's say if a person was in an accident and got all scarred up and disfigured, that too would be fixed. I have a friend, when we were in school, he got in a motorcycle accident and he had to get his one leg amputated above the knee. When Jesus comes back and raises the dead and joins the body back together with the soul, my friend will have his leg back.
Zhu's foot will be able to go faster. Zhu's an F1 driver. He got in a big crash, broke his foot, and he can't move it very far anymore.
Well, and all that stuff will be fixed, and actually, with the glorified bodies, we'll probably be able to do things a whole lot better than we did here.
So what if you got cremated then?
What if you got cremated? Good question, Rex. Very good question. Jesus will put those bodies back together again. Now listen, when a body gets cremated, what's left?
Dust.
Ashes, dust. Okay? It basically, what cremation does is just speed up the process of normal decay. What could take 100 years for just rotting takes just a matter of minutes for cremation, but you still get the same. Still get the same result.
Another question.
Yes.
You know how some people will go and spread their ashes in the wild,
And you know what? Jesus will be able to bring all that and put that back together too. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, okay? There are some people who are unbelievers. They get cremated because they'll say, well, see if they don't believe that there's a God, but then they'll say to Christians, see if your God can put this back together. Well, yeah, he can. Christians, if a Christian gets cremated and says, see if Jesus can put my body back together, that person's not really a Christian to begin with. Now, what I do, you don't have to do. When I die, I've asked my family, I'm going to be cremated. My ashes are not going to be spread anywhere, but the urn containing my ashes are going to be buried up on my buddy's ranch up by Orion, South Dakota, by my favorite hunting spot right next to my favorite hunting dog that I just buried up there a couple months ago. And that's where I'm going to be buried.
I'd like to be cremated because comes Judgment Day, I'd like to just see the dust. I'd like to just see my dust form into my new body, and that I just find stuff like that satisfying.
There are, cremation. That's something that you look in years past. A lot of Christian people frowned upon. The Bible doesn't say it's wrong. There are some Christians today that aren't comfortable with it, and if you're not comfortable with it, it shouldn't be done. But let's put it this way. You die, when a person dies, none of us know what they're doing with our body anyway.
What?
And no matter what gets done with it, Jesus is going to put it back together.
When I die, I don't really care what you do. You can bury me, you can cremate me. I don't care. And it really, yeah.
Yes.
God's going to take care of it. Yes, Rex.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's go on. Let's take a look at some more. Matthew 24, verse 36. Now this is Jesus talking about Judgment Day. When it's going to happen. He says, no one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Now think of this one. Does that seem strange to you what Jesus says? He says, no one knows when Judgment Day is going to be, when Jesus is going to return. Only the Father. But only the Father, not the Son. Well, Jesus is God, right? How come Jesus doesn't know?
Isn't he the Son of God?
Jesus is 100% God. How could Jesus say, I don't know when it's going to happen?
Because there's at one point there's too much sin, and then he has what he did and show the earth. He did it one time.
No.
The rainbow is a promise from God. He'll never flood the
Yep.
earth again.
You got to think about this. Look, remember what we've just been studying the past couple of weeks. Jesus, the Almighty God, became a human being to save us. And while he was here on this earth, Jesus was still 100% God while being 100% human. But Jesus didn't always make use of all of his powers as God, including knowing everything. So here, when Jesus is here on this earth, not making full use of his powers as God, Jesus at this time could say he didn't know. But once Jesus rose again from the dead and began using all his powers of God all the time, he knows now. But at this particular moment in time, he wasn't lying, he didn't know. But when he rose again, he knows when it is, because he's God. So, this is something to remember. When will Jesus come again? No one knows except God himself. Unexpectedly. I thought maybe if I've told you this story, forgive me, I'm going to tell it to you again. Oh, this was when I moved, I came here, this was about 12 years ago, had confirmation class. Kids that we had in confirmation class that night, and actually it was probably around this time of the year too. They came in and they were talking with some of their friends from Calvary Chapel. And some pastor on the radio was telling people Judgment Day was going to be coming on a certain day that year in the year 2013. And the kids asked me, Pastor, is there anything to that? Well, we went to hear what Jesus says. Okay? Jesus says, no one knows, only God himself. So this is something that, because I'm going to tell you, over the course of the last 2,000 years, there's been a lot of people who have said, Judgment Day is coming on this day, and that day it came and left, nothing happened. Okay? And let me tell you this, if you ever hear somebody say Judgment Day is going to happen on this certain day, You know it's not going to.
So when we die, scientists found that our brain stays alive for 7 minutes, playing our best moments from our life. And I personally think, like, say Judgment Day came, when we die, I feel like it'll still do that, and then we'll just be greeted by Jesus or something. That's just my personal opinion.
Scribble down what your question is, so you don't forget. I'm going to answer this. Okay? I don't want you to forget yours. Okay. Anyway, first, this is with what, and I've heard what you said there before. Now, this is what I would ask the doctors. How do they know that?
So apparently someone died in an MRI scan.
Okay.
It was either scientists or doctors. I've read and heard about this stuff too, Jackson. That's a guess that a few doctors are making, because when they look at some of the brain activity that remains but then I would tell you too that death probably hasn't taken place then. I'm not sure, but they're making a guess on what's going on with the brain activity. There's no evidence to show that's what's happening. Yeah, and I'm taking a guess too.
And so we don't know. Now, I will talk about, this goes back 38 years ago when I was actually working in a church, learning how to be a pastor. A year, we call it like a year of internship. In that church, there was a man that I went to visit. He had been in the hospital. He was an airplane pilot, and his airplane crashed. It crashed at the airport. The doctors told him that his heart stopped like 7 times while he was on the operating table. This man told me that he had an experience with that he said was like he was floating over his body, and he could see and hear what the doctors were doing during the surgery. And you know what? There are other stories that similar stories, people having the same experience. They call it, scientists call it near-death experiences. Did this guy have a real experience? He believed it was. I have no reason not to believe him. At the same time, too, when the doctors will say too, and the people will say, there are people who are in comas, people are in their room, and they hear, and while they can't open their eyes, they can't speak, they hear what's going on. Sometimes they can see if their eyes aren't closed. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but even now with all of science and medicine and stuff that we learn today, no one can positively say what happens when a person dies. I can tell you some other stories I know. Okay? My grandmother, who she's been in heaven for 43 years. My grandma told me this story when I was about your age. She was with her mother when her mother died, which would be my great-grandmother. And she had been very, very sick and kind of sleeping, unresponsive, unconscious for days. And on her last day, she woke up, eyes open, she sat up in her bed, and she said, Lord, Lord, how beautiful the angels are singing. Had a big smile on her face, and she laid back down, and that was it. She died.
I heard one story. It was an indie race. This one guy, he took a corner and him and his opponent touched wheels. He goes straight into the barrier, and in that moment, everything just slowed down. He could look down and see his body in his F1, in his Indy car, and he watched in slow motion as his Indy car gets like literally torn to shreds. By the time it was over, he was out on the track, and he looks up and he sees it. He said it was just beautiful. He could not describe it, and he said in that moment, I think I saw heaven, and then he was brought back, and he was actually kind of lucky because he crashed. He crashed so close, and he got so close to getting hit by another car, because he wasn't in his Indy car anymore. He was flung out, and yeah, he's lucky to still be alive.
The thing is with death, we are not going to know what that's like until we die and go to heaven. There's only been a few people that have actually died and come back. Well, Jesus is the only one to have died, rose again, and didn't die again. The Bible tells us about other people who were raised to life, and then died again much later. The Bible doesn't tell us anything about them saying anything about if they remembered anything, what it was like. So it's a question we don't have answers to. We can only expect, and you know what? It's not important knowledge to know in order to get to heaven.
Yeah.
Gonna look at this. One more. Oh, sorry.
Wait, isn't like the Calvary Chapel like this that way?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Where's the Calvary Chapel at?
So you know where my dad's at, right?
Yes.
It's on that corner. That's the Calvary Chapel.
Okay, well I'm gonna.
My dad's corner. Yeah, that's the Calvary Chapel.
And I didn't say that. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. I didn't say the pastor from Calvary Chapel said that.
Yeah, I know.
It was stuff. The kids from Calvary Chapel heard some pastor on the radio say it.
But this one lady, when I went to VBS there, she like said that she thinks that Jesus is gonna come back really soon because of just like signs of it.
Yeah, and that's true. Jesus and this is stuff we're going to be looking at here. Jesus tells us that there are signs to show that the end is near. In fact, a lot of those signs were already present even before he went back to heaven. Here's the thing too. Jesus' disciples, his 12 disciples, all of them felt that Jesus was going to come back before they died. The point is that that all of the signs are here. He could come before we go home tonight. We don't know. Okay, let's look at this Bible passage. Jesus answered. Now here you're talking about these people saying different thing, and here are the signs too, Keegan. Jesus is talking about these signs. Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many." In fact, there's been lots of idiots that have. In fact, there was one, his name was the Reverend Sun Myung Moon over in North Korea. He was saying that he was Jesus, a reincarnation of Jesus. You will hear of wars and rumor of wars. There are wars and rumors.
Sounds oddly familiar.
But see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, food shortages, and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of birth pains. A woman has contractions. What's that saying is coming? What's coming? A baby. all of these things happen, and Jesus says that same judgment day is coming. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and be put to death. You'll be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets, many false teachers will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. All of these things are happening right now, and they've been happening for 2,000 years.
Many, many years.
All right? When will Jesus come again? Number 2. As the world draws closer to the end, it will become more and more ungodly. Like a clock running down. A clock that you wind. Have you ever seen a clock? We're used to digital clocks and all that. They still make clocks. I have one that you can wind up. It's like a clock or a timer. Have you ever got one of those that you wind up? Mom's got for the stove, and then you can hear it ticking, and all of a sudden, ding. Signs in society. Wars and rumors of wars. Ukraine. Israel and Palestine. In nature. Disturbances like earthquakes. Famines. Famines are when food won't grow. Tornadoes. Hurricanes. Tsunamis. Any of you guys see, I'm not saying that this is the same thing. Any of you guys see the Northern Lights last night?
Yeah, no, I was on the bus coming home from lesson.
Signs in the church. False prophets and persecution. Jesus says that the gospel, the word of God, will reach all of the world, all the parts of the world, and it has. Doesn't mean everybody's going to believe it. It has. All of these signs, all of them have happened. Jesus could come tonight, tomorrow, next week, next year, or 1,000 years from now. We don't know. But the point is he says, be ready. The sign, all of the signs are here. This probably was about 25 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer than that. And I was in Minnesota. One of the Lutheran pastors in the town next to me, I had been taking care of that church when they needed to get a new pastor or whatever. I knew those people very well. One evening I got a telephone call from some people over there. They said, Pastor, can we come over and talk to you? And I said, sure. I knew who they were. They weren't members of my church, but of the neighboring Lutheran church. They came in and they said, Pastor, our kids came home from confirmation class tonight and they were just frantic and scared. And I said, why is that? And they said, because Pastor so-and-so told them that Judgment Day, the world was going to end before tomorrow. And it was one of the things that I found hard to believe, because that pastor knew better than anybody else that no one except God knows. But the kids were telling the truth. Their pastor was suffering from a mental illness, and I feel bad for him and those kids. He had a psychiatrical breakdown. But that was something I remember sitting with those kids and showing them in the Bible how only Jesus knows, and that no human being knows other than him. And so, but they were pretty scared. And then he was telling them other goofy stuff too, but that wasn't his fault too. He had a mental illness. sick mentally. He did get better from that. But go on. Yes, please, hustle up. Well, you know, take the time you need, but get going. Move.
You got sunglasses tan.
I do?
Yeah, on the side of your face, kind of.
Yeah, I was out a little bit. We had a pastors meeting in Martin, South Dakota yesterday. And then after the meeting, there were a few of us, we went out. Pastor Bieber went to go fishing for trout on this little pond out there. Then the other pastors and I went and tried to shoot some pheasants.
Did you get anything?
We saw a bunch, but they were didn't have a dog, but they were spooky. They were getting up way, way ahead of us, not even anywhere close to shoot.
Hey, Pastor. So, I heard this one story. So, Joao, I'm just gonna call him Ju. His teammate, right? I think they were on the last lap of the race. And Ju tried to overtake Charles Leclerc. And so, I don't know what happened, but they just nailed wheels, and they were fine, but like a spring from either Leclerc or Ju's car just comes flying at Ju's teammate, nails his helmet, and in F1 there are gravel traps to slow you down, but some parts of F1 tracks don't have gravel tracks. He was unlucky enough to be on that part, so he didn't have a gravel trap to slow him down, and his foot is still on the throttle. And he's pushing about 221 straight into a barrier. Full on, just straight into a barrier. And he's actually lucky to be alive because his car somehow withstood the crash, but the front was damaged really bad. It reached up to the front tires, like crumpled backwards. Now in F1 they have these crumple zones that are supposed to crumple, but still.
Yeah. There's been, it's a dangerous sport.
I like bull riding.
There's a lot of dangerous sports. So look at Matthew 25, verse 31. We're going to look at, in what way will Jesus come again? How, in what manner? Jesus says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. This term Son of Man, I remember I've talked to you about this before. There are many terms that are in phrases and descriptions of Jesus that the Bible gives us. One is Son of God. And that term Son of God actually means God, divine. And then there's a term that is used for Jesus, Son of Man. And actually that's really a fancy way that the Hebrew language to talk about being human, being a human. Out of those two terms, Son of God and Son of Man, Jesus uses both descriptions for himself, but he uses the term Son of Man like twice as much. It shows how much he likes to relate to us, and it reminds us of why he came, the reason that he came. He came here to save us. What Jesus says, talks about Judgment Day, he's going to come again in all of his glory. In what manner will Jesus come again? Judgment Day, he will return in all his glory with all his holy angels. This isn't the only place that describes this. The Bible also tells us that he's going to be coming in the sky. Okay, he's going to return in the sky with all of his angels, and then with all of the people who are actually, he says, then what's going to happen is the dead are going to be raised, and then the believers are going to be caught up and meet Jesus in the air. Talked about that. We're going to be able to fly. All right. So Jesus, in all of his glories, when Jesus comes, It's going to be all His glory. Everybody's going to know that He's God. Then we go with these in Acts 1. Remember, this was when Jesus left the world and ascended into heaven. The angels said, "Men of Galilee," Jesus' disciples, "why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus who's been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you've seen Him go into heaven." The angel said Jesus is going to come back the same way he left in the sky. Book of Revelation, as it's talking about Judgment Day. Look, He is coming. Jesus is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see Him, even those who pierced Him. And all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of Him. So shall it be. Amen. Number 2, Jesus will come again visibly, so that every eye will see Him. You might be wondering, why is that so important, that Jesus returns visibly? Remember how I told you that over the course of the last 2,000 years, there's been a whole bunch of idiots inside the church and outside the church have said Jesus is going to return, and He didn't on that day? Well, then some people started saying, well, He returned invisibly. Yeah, huh? He returned invisibly, so He wasn't seen, so I was right. No, this is why Jesus says every eye will see, when He returns, every eye will see Him. This won't be a secret. And another thing, when Jesus comes with all of His angels, you know what? You're standing there and you're watching. Nobody's going to elbow you and say, "Who is that? What's going on?" Everybody's going to know, even unbelievers. For you and me, it's not going to be a scary thing. It's not. It's going to be a happy time. For those who don't believe in Jesus, it's going to be very terrifying.
I saw this one video. I don't know why, but I got 3 videos in a row of these like fake emergency alerts of when you hear the 7 trumpets, and it's all go into your house, find a good place to hide. And I'm thinking, that's the act of a sinner. I'll go outside.
No. Going to talk more about that too. All right? We go on. What will happen when Jesus comes again? Well, what's going to happen after this? Jesus says this: "Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear His voice," Jesus, "and come out. Those who have done good will rise to live. Those who have done evil will rise to be condemned." Here, Jesus is not teaching that you get to heaven by being good. What He's telling us here, only a believer has the ability to do anything good in God's eyes. An unbeliever can't do anything good in God's eyes. God sees the Christian, and He doesn't see good. He sees Jesus' perfection that covers us by faith. So, but anyway, here is what will happen when Jesus comes again. Number 1, all of the dead, believers and unbelievers, will be raised up, will come out of the grave. There are some people that teach that unbelievers won't be raised. No, the Bible tells us is that both believers and unbelievers will be brought out of the grave. Believers are going to have perfect bodies. Maybe the unbelievers, they might look like zombies.
Hey, Pastor, question. So
Yes.
Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They believe in God. So I'm kind of being conflicted, because would they go to heaven because they believe in God? They just don't believe in the triune God, and I heard that they don't believe Jesus was God.
Yep, they don't believe in the same God of the Bible.
Oh, so they wouldn't go to
No.
heaven?
No.
Okay.
look a little bit more. Next one, Acts 17, verse 31. For God has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed, Jesus. He has given proof of this to all people by raising Jesus from the dead. Number 2, all of mankind, everyone who has ever existed, will be judged. Now I want to describe what this is going to be like to you. I don't know where I got this idea. I think when I was younger than you, maybe it was from I got a goofy idea from a picture I saw in a Sunday school lesson. I somehow had got this idea in my mind that Judgment Day was going to be like this. It would be like there'd be a big drive-in movie screen like they have at the drive-in place up in Winter or at Gregory. Yeah. And that when it came to be everybody's turn, you'd get up there and God would show all of the good and bad things that you did for everybody to see. And I remember thinking, I don't want that. I don't want people to see all the bad stuff I've done. I remember talking to my pastor about that and telling him how much that bothered me. And this is what my pastor told me. He says, you know what? I don't know where you got that idea. It's not going to happen that way. But he goes, let's say it does happen that way. He goes, for all believers, when you go up there, and if anything's going to play on for you on the drive-in movie screen, it's going to be everything that Jesus did. Nothing that you've done. Only the unbelievers you'll see the good and the bad. And because remember, how do we get to heaven? Not by what we do, but what Jesus did for us. And that's how the judgment's going to be. For believers, we're going to be judged on Jesus' perfection, not our failures and sins. Go on. We get a little more because we got about 20 minutes yet here. Nice. In Matthew 25, at Judgment Day, this is then after when Jesus does it. The Bible tells us that Jesus is going to separate the believers from the unbelievers then. The believers on his right, the unbelievers on his left. Jesus sometimes calls it the sheep are the believers, the goats are the unbelievers. Then he says, then the king, Jesus, will say to those on his right, believers, come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. Notice there when Jesus is speaking to believers, he's not talking about an inheritance. Do you do anything to get an inheritance? No, it's because of who you are. You're a family member. The kingdom is prepared for you. We are blessed. This is nothing that we do. Yes, sir.
So when we enter heaven, will it be like? So I know it's going to be perfect, but will it be perfect for each person, or is it just the same thing for everyone?
Will we all have different experiences? Well, you know what? We're all going to be unique individuals. Yeah. But heaven is good. We're not all going to have our own little heaven. We're all going to be there together.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
What I meant was like, let's take an example. Say I enter heaven, I'll see Josie, I'll see Bruiser, I don't know.
And if you see him, other people are going to see him too.
Yeah. So basically the example would be I enter heaven, I see Josie, I see Bruiser, or like say Keegan enters heaven, she sees something different. It's just going to be the same. No!
You're all, yeah, but I mean, it's not going to be like you're the only one seeing it.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what? And you know, we think about a lot of things, we don't know what it's like. And you know what? It's going to be perfect. Perfect is a nice word for it, and that's right. But we don't even have a clue how cool how awesome it's going to be. We won't know until we get there. Then he will say to those on his left, the unbelievers, depart from me, you who are cursed, into eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. What will Jesus' verdict be? Number one, he will say, fill in the blanks here, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil. And he'll say that to all who rejected him as Savior and Lord and showed this in their lifestyle. There are some teachers of the Bible, and even Jehovah's Witnesses say this too, and they're not teachers of the Bible, but they'll say that there is no hell and God won't send unbelievers to hell, that he'll just wipe them out of existence. No, that's not what Jesus says. Okay. So we got the believers, or the unbelievers there. Then number two, actually, whoever believes in Jesus is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already. We get number two, Jesus will say, come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. He says that to all who trusted him as Savior and showed that in their lifestyle. It's going to be a pretty spectacular thing. We pastors at our meeting, we were talking about some of these things yesterday too, about because sometimes people ask, what if somebody I love dearly is not a believer, but is on the left with the unbelievers? Is that going to make me sad? Now it would, okay? At that point in time, when we will know, we'll be perfect, then all sin will be removed from us. That's not going to be something that makes us sad then. It's hard to believe on this side, but the point is, here, now, right now, before death, that's the time for us to be concerned about people, whether they believe in Jesus or not. Because right now, in this life, is the only opportunity, only time where we can do anything about it. And in heaven, let's say, for example, if your best friend, your best human friend is not there, that's not going to bother you in heaven. It bothers you here, but it's not going to bother you when you are in heaven, because you're going to know God is fair. He doesn't show favorites, and we're going to be all right with that.
Honestly, when you said animals don't have souls, that made me really sad, because I would think I wouldn't be able to see Josie. But then you said, then I heard, that makes you sad. She'll be there.
If something is going to make you sad, God's going to take care of that. Alrighty, let's keep going. 2 Peter 3, we're going to look at what will happen after all of that. Well, in 2 Peter 3, verse 10, we're told here, but the day of the Lord will come like a thief, Heavens will disappear with a roar. Elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be laid bare. Number one, the world, actually the universe. But you can understand it with the world, because actually, anyway, don't worry about that. The world as we know it will be destroyed. whole universe will be destroyed. 3 verses later, Peter tells us, but in keeping with God's promise, we are looking forward to a new heaven and a new earth, the home of righteousness. Number 2, God will give believers an absolutely perfect new heaven and new earth. This is a way that God describes heaven. A new creation, a new universe, free from sin. The Bible also talks about God destroying this universe, that it is a deliverance, it is actually a blessing, because it says the creation, the universe today suffers, all of it suffers because of sin. God destroying it will be a deliverance, and then he's going to make a new universe. That's where we're going to live forever and ever and ever. Perfect. Animals. You know, and the Bible gives so many different descriptions, it's hard to picture it. But a lot of times Jesus describes heaven as like, well, the Garden of Eden before Adam and Eve sinned. That means that we're going to have, you know what, hey, you know what, there will be work in heaven, but it'll be fun. You know, hey, think about what like you do, you know, remember, work isn't like going in someplace and punching a time clock or whatever. But you think if you're working on a project, there's things you like to fix or to build, and you find satisfaction in that. Work in heaven's going to be 1,000,000 times better than that. What else is going to happen then? We're looking at what the Bible tells us. Philippians 3. Jesus, will transform our lowly bodies so that they will be like his glorious bodies. Number 3, we will receive perfect glorified bodies similar to Christ's body after his resurrection. You'll be able to recognize who we are, because remember when Jesus rose on Easter Sunday and appeared to his disciples? They all knew who he was. I mean, there were times where he kept them from recognizing them, but it wasn't like he had a whole different appearance. But he had a perfect body. And then also, you have to look at this. When Jesus appeared to his disciples and they were in the upper room and had the doors and the windows locked, Jesus walked through the doors. This is something that maybe, I'm not sure about this, but maybe when we're in heaven, we might be able to do stuff like that too. Maybe, I don't know, but it's a possibility. I've already told you, we go on to page 36, I've already told you why we don't have to be afraid about Judgment Day. We're just going to quickly review this before. When Jesus returns, it's believers, we don't have to be afraid, and we won't be. And here are the reasons why. How many words you got to write down yet there, Jasper?
Jasper? Who's Jasper?
No, it's Casper. Did that girl do online that you confirmed?
Pardon?
Did that girl do online that you confirmed last Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. Never knew that. Never saw her in my life.
Yep.
That's Roxy's.
Her mom plays organ, and they live over in Platte. And so to make it, because it was so hard for her to get over here for class, we did that online. Let's go on. Luke 21. Jesus says, at that time they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Why will Judgment Day be a glorious day, a joyous day for a believer? Number one, this is the day of final redemption, when we will be free from the presence of sin and its effects. No more illness, no more accidents, no more broken bones, no more pimples. I'll have a full head of hair.
So, what age will you be when you get?
That's a good question.
When you get?
You know what? The Bible talks about, it talks about youthful health and what age we will be then. I think, you know what, we're all going to look like good, healthy, full-grown humans. And then, this was something my grandma asked me back many, many years ago before she died. My grandma had a baby that died when she was 8 days old. And my grandma asked me, with her baby, is she going to be a baby or an adult? Will she get to hold her and rock her to sleep and stuff like that? With babies, I don't know. The Bible doesn't give an answer about what age we will be, but we will be healthy. We will have perfect bodies. Will we be? Again, we're not given those answers. My grandma liked to think that she was going to be able to hold her baby.
I kind of feel like it'd be a mix, like full-grown adult with the energy of a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of a mix
I don't know.
of
And again, probably I would tell my grandma, if she was here, if it make you sad that you can't hold your baby, well, God's going to take care of that too. Number 2.
stuff. Ooh, that's a
Here's the one here that I was telling you about. One of my brothers, we do not want you to be ignorant about those who have fallen asleep, die, or to grieve like the rest of men who have no hope, those who aren't Christians. We believe Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. Talking here about Judgment Day. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left till the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel and the trumpet of call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. Number 2, why Judgment Day will be a joyous day for a believer? We will be with the Lord forever. And notice that word we. All of our loved ones who trusted in Jesus as Savior, there's going to be that happy reunion. One of the things that I look forward in heaven is to seeing my grandparents again. They believed in Jesus. My mom and my dad. My uncles. I look forward to seeing them again. But the most important thing, we will be with Jesus. Guess who's going to be the first person to welcome us into heaven? It's going to be him.
Who's Jesus?
Number 3, Psalm 16. This is King David talking about the resurrection of Jesus that was to come. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let your Holy One, Jesus, see decay. You've made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. We will have eternal happiness. And this is the biggest thing. Always happy, never sad. Nothing to trouble us. All of the stuff that drives us crazy here will never happen again. And so as we talk about all these things, am I ready? How are we ready? By believing in Jesus, by trusting that He's our Savior. Whom do I trust? Jesus. For whom do I live? Jesus. So this is a little picture of what not only Judgment Day, but eternity is going to be like. We have probably more, we have more questions than we're given answers. But you know what? The answers that we don't have, that's not important, because we don't need to have those answers in order to get to heaven. You know what I like to do with notes that get passed is then we read them for everybody to hear. It's not
There ain't much to
a
read.
goofy picture, or
No, it's just a paper.
she's just bird.
Knife.
Oh. Anyway, let's look at this. We got 7:29. We got 1 minute. Okay, you've got the assignment for next week box on there. I want you to memorize the Matthew 24 verse 36. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Okay, I want you to go over down at the bottom of page 36, worksheet number 9, do the multiple choice. Page 37, finish the multiple choice, do the matching the word study, do the true and false. Go over to page 38, and then do the paragraph completion. Fill in the blank there. There will be a quiz on that next week. You guys are dismissed.
Okay, so my question. Okay, so you know how there's like different religions everywhere? You know that?
Yeah?
So what if there's only one God and He went to all the different religions and their way they would like in Egypt, don't they like worship cats?
Yeah, that didn't happen.
No.
No.
If you want to read, this is the note.
Go ahead.
Knife.
Wow.
You guys are dismissed. Thank you. You have a good week and a good weekend.
I will see you after.
Okay. Before I shut off, Logan, I'm going to give you here, going to give you this. Page 36. You will memorize Matthew 24, verse 36. Do the worksheet starting on the bottom, multiple choice. On to the next page, 37, finish that. Do the matching, the word study. Do the true and false. And then on the next page, do the paragraph completion. Got words there that'll help you. And there will be a quiz on this next week. Hopefully you feel better. If you got any questions, just call me or text me. Have a great weekend.